Some niggas scared to make that move, we can't relate to that. I roll the dice, shit, if I lose, I'm gon' be shaking back. Cause lessons learned within the loss just elevate the fact that trial and error just the only way, ain't no escaping that. I wake up, hit 100 push-ups, then I'm at my route. Check on my stocks, see how they looking, then I'm sliding out. When you start seeing your progression, you stop having doubts. And what's the point of having clout if you can't cash it out? True to this game, and I'm a lifer, ayy. Feel like we finna change the cycle, ayy. That's the most success, you know we thriving, ayy. That's the most depression for our rivals, ayy. Could teach a lesson on survival, ayy. You know I'm from the bottom.
What's good, wealthy people? Your boy David Bellard, 1/4 of the Black Wealth Renaissance crew. Here live with my co-host Jalen Clark. Jalen, how you living, dog?
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Jalen, man. I'm doing great, dog. I ain't gonna lie, a little full of tequila.
Hey, that tequila been getting me.
I'm feeling great, but I'm good, man. So this has been a great day.
Yeah, man, another great recording session, season 4 of the Black Wealth Renaissance Podcast. Y'all already know it been going crazy, man. Y'all seen
ever
us on
since
socials.
Houston, yeah.
Man, look, we've been doing numbers, and like Jalen said, we got some big shit on the way. But y'all just, but before
besides that,
we got another great episode for y'all today.
Yes, sir.
Man, this is another one. This is a brother. I don't even know how we didn't know this man before a couple months ago.
Yeah,
but this is a brother y'all need to know. If y'all sleep, you need to get from under your rock, man.
Appreciate that,
Look,
man.
This is a brother out here. He from Cali. Been in Dallas since 2010, man. He is the owner of. He's a techpreneur.
Yeah,
a techpreneur, black techpreneur out here. Owner of Goodie Box, a smart vending machine business that's done. I don't want to mince nothing up.
Don't even want to.
I believe my brother did over $5 million in revenue or something like that.
Just shy.
Just shy.
Yeah, just shy.
Like on a business that most people don't even think about. He's revolutionizing some things that people see as this real analog, where he's taking things digital, smart technology. None other than Mr. Maxie Taylor, Mr. Goodie Box. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Glad to be here. Appreciate y'all having me, man.
Appreciate you coming on, my brother.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't have it no other way.
Thank you for making it here today, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Max, so like just to get into it, like, can you give us like a 5-minute synopsis of like who are you and how'd you become a techpreneur?
Well, I always kind of like to lean in, you know what I mean? Don't come from a tech background, so technology actually found me. I come from a background of commercial banking, relationship management, so I just kind of had a whole bunch of relationships with multifamily apartments, convenience stores, shopping centers. So it was like hot buttons of what they call now the retail apocalypse. So I was kind of inundated with that. Working on the distress side of asset management, which essentially means we're going to work ourselves out of a job. So you got your sunset notice, that's going to come to a close. Things are good. We got less work. Things are bad. We got more work. So, kind of topped off being a vice president. I did some pretty heavy things, reached that corporate ceiling. I was kind of looking around and just, saw 10 years out. I don't see myself doing this, still got some vitality, still got some youth, some vibrancy. Everybody around me was like 67 years old at that point. So salary was decent. So I decided to, let me get into something entrepreneurial. I had a few ideas, you know what I mean? So Goodie Box had to be one of the ones I was going to try, and, it was successful. So that's what initially got me into technology.
So with Goodie Box, did you initially just start off?
I want to know where the idea came from for Goodie Box.
Was it just vending at first, and then you was like, man, this shit kind of like slow or whatever?
So living here, so I relocated here in 2010. I was working with the FDIC doing kind of same thing, franchise asset marketing on a high level. I was living in an apartment community that's, I think it's now just directly across American Airlines Center, the Alta Design District. So I was going through my regular routine, going, checking the mail, probably leaving the gym. And they had like an old vending machine in there. So it had cobwebs and the standard products, snacks, chips, things like that. Then it just kind of hit me. I was like, man, if I could repurpose this space for something tailored to people that live like I live or live in this apartment community, I would be on to something. So, just kind of got obsessed with it. I would walk by there occasionally every day and see it was still in the same space, cobwebs, nothing moving. So it's evident, people aren't buying snacks and chips like chips. That. Exactly. So that's when it hit me. I started researching. My first inkling of, getting into the Goodie Box thing was seeing, okay, I know the kiosk or, the shell of the machine is pretty common. We could do, find that pretty commonly. But I saw a need, from how could I get more products in this space that, you know, almost mirror like a grocery shopping convenience store shelf. So I stumbled upon this XY axis that was a robotic arm that would push these products in and out of this shelf. So that was where I kind of like started with the guts inside of it. It's okay, now I'm on to something. I figured out how that would work, how I could push and pull the products. Now I got the kiosk inside there. So that's where it started, on seeing a need and an opportunity. And just really being in a place where I could take a risk, you know what I'm saying? It's like I had a sunset notice. I knew, hey, I'm going to lose this job. Salary decent. I got to flip it into something before, you know, I'm stagnant. So that was clicking. I had, you know, come from a entrepreneurial background. People do, you know, family has some assets. So it's not unfamiliar territory, but this was just a really opportunity where everything started clicking. Like I'm saying, the axis was working. Then I went next on trying to build the inside according to the specifics. I needed to get it inside, make it work, have the computer engine all together. So that was the next process on finding the talent, on-demand talent to put that together.
Okay, so quick question with the accent. So you took a whole different technological component and you made it fit into the vending machine. Yeah,
for sure. So do you see the first conversation that we was having about what we see standard with vending? They have what are called like spirals and coils inside that dispense those chips that get hung all the time. So that was the first inkling. It's like,
things
man,
that be making you mad whenever you see
when
stuff.
You gotta shake that shit.
And then how my mind works, I'm always like 3 or 4 steps ahead. So I was like, man, if I put a cologne box in here and a person spend $80 in here and it gets stuck, the person gonna have to spend another $80 to get it out of there.
Shit.
They ain't spending
I ain't spending $80. I'm about
mad.
to break that bitch.
Right. So, and that's the normal. So the thought process is, how could I, you know, minimize some of these pain points, make it more what I would say frictionless and easy to dispense. So had my first location of 2015, got the flagship, so built it all together, had the working prototype, tested it out. And the next thing was, you know, creating products that really, really made sense to this demographic. So it was all, you know, trial and error at first. Have a pretty nice inkling on what people want and what's trending in that atmosphere. We shop at convenience stores and stuff kind of every day and influence those trends on just telling, you know, those people what we want, and they put them on the shelf. So understanding that aspect is what kind of gave me my first round. I put, you know, 50 products in there that made sense. Essentials, toiletries, feminine hygiene products.
You took it away from the traditional shit, though.
Snacks
Like,
and all of that
fuck
shit.
the snacks, the 50-cent margins and all that stuff. You went for products that people can use that are higher ticket items, right?
Higher margins for sure. And that's where, you know, like I preface that, you know, you're probably not tripping if your snacks get hung, but if, hey, I'm spending $10, $20 on phone charger and that shit get hung, you kind of pissed off.
Especially
so just
my
make
phone
it
about to die and I'm in the bind.
So just to make it more frictionless and easy, that's where I started. And like you know, mentioned on how did it get, you know, maybe so advanced. This was really before the e-commerce boom. I think e-commerce and things was always on the cusp, but this is before like Amazon packages was really hammering everybody like they were. So I was really early on seeing this need and this opportunity. This is before DoorDash. This is before Instacart.
Oh, yeah.
So this is, you know, where my thought process was on seeing how small and medium-sized format stores could be more effective than the big box retailers that is kind of out here today.
So even with your products, how'd you come up with a solid list of products? Did you have to do some market research? Did you kind of interview some of the people that was living in the building that you was in? Like, what was that process like?
So, I started out with gift cards. I was doing Papa John's gift cards. I forget a few others, but we're just asking people for their insight and input on what products do you hate to run out of when you're in this circumstance, when you're in this apartment. What do you need immediately that you hate to run out and have to drive? Because at the moment, the focus of me knowing how special this opportunity was is that I started learning about things I didn't know anything about. Those were the first time I heard about the food desert. I found out that the zip code that I was living in was a food desert. So I saw, hey, a grocery store is 1.5 miles away from this location. Although we got, you know, decent income, disposable income, but we still got to drive. So that was the motivation, asking people for these questions, kind of market research. But then I found one of the like largest convenience store distributors in the country, and they had some more tools and resources that would enable me to do like a query of like, so I put in a zip code, for instance, and it would tell me the top selling 100 items that were in this area. So I would take some of that data, compile it with the market research, and tailor like a product mix that was really, really special and unique to that location. And that's kind of been the secret sauce as of yet. I still kind of do that query, but it's almost so fluid now. We just kind of really know what's out there and, you know, what to put in there to make it make sense.
Man, that's dope as hell.
You're really an innovator, bro.
Nah,
I really like
real.
the first time I heard about Goodie Boxx, I'm like, dope, bro, why has nobody really thought about this? Like, I seen vending machines. Like, I worked as an event marketing manager with this company in the Urban Mall for a while. Sure. And I seen a vending machine in there selling hair, and I was like, man, why more people don't do this type of stuff, right? Yeah. Because like whenever you first mentioned to me, like with Goodie Boxx, the biggest thing is the margins to me. Like, what was...
Yeah, because we had a vending machine, and the margins were fucking...
I mean, don't get me wrong. We still was getting like
we was making good
on snacks, right? Because you pay 50 cents for a bag of chips. You pay 30 cents for a bag of chips and sell it for $1. Right. You got a good margin, but you're still playing with small dollars.
Exactly.
Where did the idea come in for you to like use bigger ticket items?
Possibly traveling. So spend some time, you know what I mean, just leisurely, China, Japan, and studying their trends. But outside of that, I think at that time, mentally, like Europe was actually more influential. So backing up a little bit on some of the mindset of how this kind of came about and how I could utilize other products. So a lot of people don't know Redbox actually started as a big vending machine. They had
oh yeah, that does make sense. It was a vending machine. Goddamn.
It was basically all it was.
Started out in DC where they had the DVDs and kiosks, but the bigger portion of it, I think in the DC area, they had a really, really large store. And what happened is that they sold off that portion to Europe. That became its own phenomenon and just kept the kiosk portion. So the remnants of that innovation was flooding Europe at that time. You know, they have other types of click and collect, what we call omni-channel solutions that kind of fall in the vending realm. So seeing how that was really, really fluid, and also, you know, the Latin markets were utilizing it, it just really, really made sense. I just felt like the U.S. market was just behind. And I was, you know, first adopter. The first store of that kind, you know what I mean, was put here in Dallas, Texas, and at that location that I was telling you about in 2014. So seeing that and bringing that here, that was the motivation. I saw it was being used at other locations and just saw how behind the USA was.
So I kind of want to go into something else we've talking about before, the difference between hardware and tech and software and tech, and how it's so different to even get funding behind hardware versus software.
And that was a learning experience for me. So I created this business with that mindset. Okay, it's a business first, and then me talking and telling other people and getting in these circles, figured out how it was classified. It's like, oh, you know, it's a tech business. Then, you know, pitching into other people, oh, you know, that's a hardware business. It was all learning for me because it's foreign. But what happened, like you mentioned, it's a totally different metric. All of the highlights that you see for majority of the investments, people getting fundraising here locally, you know, in the country, mostly have been SaaS platforms, software as a service. Hardware gets funded, but still not at the magnitude. It's a whole different set of metrics because mainly the ideology is that hardware almost has to be perfect every iteration. Software is more fluid. It can be changed on the fly. You can make some changes real quick and it's up.
Software also has like a lower overhead, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but the thought process is that it's just more malleable. It's like, okay, if my software program wasn't working, I could go tweak some code and now it's up and running. I'd have to physically make another version of a hardware or a product in order for it to be ready. So that's like my vending machine, it wasn't working because this dispensing arm wasn't working. I would have to literally build a whole machine again, just hypothetically in the hardware sense in order to make it make sense. So when investors look at it that aspect, they feel, okay, damn, I can give you some money. You can get a software engineer to come in here, tweak it, and that's a lot faster. But that hardware shit is just a little more laborious. So you got people that
you got parts and stuff you got to get and everything like that.
Right. So like a Texas market, like the VC is, pretty decent here. Not as strong as on the coast, but everybody here is investing in software. You don't have anybody. You got to go to the coast to get in deep tech. And then, me coming from the coast, it was like I, just backed into this thing and didn't even think, how that would work. So, hardware does get, funding and get its visibility. I think, one of the ones that I can mention, Ring is a form of a hardware. You know what I'm saying?
It's one of my favorite hardware companies.
Right. The new metaverse type of headsets are going to be hardware. These glasses, AR vests, those are going to be. So hardware, it's different, whole new animal, but it's still tech at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. So Max, I kind of want to get into going into that funding situation, right? Because I know a lot of black entrepreneurs, we struggle with that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
I know black businesses are some of the most underfunded businesses in the world, right?
Sure.
So I know you've won a few different grants and competitions and funding from different things. What advice could you give to somebody who's trying to get funding for their business?
Don't seek the funding. I think fundamentally all our businesses have gotten maybe drawn into the Shark Tank culture and think that, hey, I'm going to pitch an idea and somebody's going to give you a check for it, which is possible. Not to say that it's not possible, but the reality of it is that you're on the wrong side of the table, or not the wrong, you're on the, you're receiving the short end of the stick. So being that if you come into a business, you have decent revenue, you have more leverage in the fundraising negotiations. The same asset class of venture capital is mirrored to what rappers use for their record label deals. So the same kind of ideology. Okay, I got a record deal. You know how strenuous and messed up those contracts could be.
360s and everything like that.
Similar in the VC world is that you're going to give up a chunk of your equity in your company. You're going to give up board seats. And you're going to have people telling you what to do in your business 24/7 in hopes that it reaches growth trajectories. These people that got venture capital funds, they're looking to make 10x returns on the money that they're giving. So they're looking at businesses that have this trajectory for one. But, as a business, everybody's not ready for that pressure. Sometimes things need to be meticulously thought out, need to be researched, they need to be developed before getting on this commercial scale of growth. So to really answer your question, I would tell our black entrepreneurs, take it a step back like we've always done. We've had to, be more inclusive, had to support our own, make sure that we're generating revenue before seeking fundraising.
It's important.
Money,
even like seed rounds, right? Like that's not where you have to go through VC. Seed rounds, that's family and friends, right?
No, those are two separate.
Okay.
So it's phases of it. So family and friends is usually your first egg of money that you receive. And you can do that between people typically your alumni circle, friends, family, and fools, as they call it. The next phase up is kind of murky, but they call it a pre-seed and a seed, but it works probably similar on metrics. So you may have revenue. Pre-seed is that, you may not have revenue, but you got a dope ass idea. You got a contract with this person that says, all you need is this to turn it over. That's where, the pre-seed will make more sense. But there's always some anomalies on some people that have some unique patents and some things that they've introduced, and it's advantageous for that group just to say, okay, I need to get in this early and see it through. Seeding is usually giving you the tools to make it feel like a corporation. These are the people that you need to hire to expand and get that on that growth trajectory.
All of that type of shit.
Exactly. So it's a scale up is what that seed is, and then that builds right before all of the alphabets, the Series A, the Series B, Series C. And that's when you're making money, when you're rolling, and then people are throwing money to help you meet those goals and grow.
It's another thing with you and the tech side that I kind of want to get into as well. And you were talking about, not the tech side, but the funding side. You were talking about how sometimes these venture capitalist people, they have interest in people who might have something very similar to you. And you go in there, and you pitch your whole idea. And sometimes they just take your idea, throw you to the side, and they go back to the person that they have an interest with, and they kind of help them win.
That's grimy.
Yeah, like, so how do you protect yourself whenever you are looking to start scaling and things like that?
Man, that's a good question. It's an art and a science. I've experienced that personally on navigating, the venture capital space. I think the most important protectant is anything of your intellectual property as a patent. And that gives you a place where you can safely talk about your idea. And if anybody does try to implement it, there could be, ramifications or, implications of you, misusing that patent and intellectual property. The culture of venture capital and everything is pretty much, they're not signing on non-disclosures. And it's discussed from them that, hey, we're not going to steal it, but you got to know.
They could do it if they wanted to. Shit. They got the bread already.
The bread, but the circle is so small of that, like, to be honest, without having the exposure and this experience, it's hard for our people to fathom and understand what really goes on. It's natural. It's not to, be, dismissive or anything about our experience. It's just the reality of it. You got to go through these things and know what's going on to make it make sense. So, for instance, these venture capital groups, the Coast, certain family offices, they all kind of talk. They cross-collaborate. They invest in deals. So, typically, they have either seen an idea that you put together or heard about it. So, what happened for me is that I was looking for, maybe kind of got hung up in the idea of black VCs becoming more popular at one point in time. There was lists circulating of, this VC, this person, so on and so forth. And I reached out to a person that was a black VC, of course, at a white firm, and didn't do my due diligence. I think that was really the lesson on that one, to see what investments that they already had that could be a conflict of interest or could pose this threat for them taking, sharing my information. So, this VC firm, Forerunner Ventures, as we, go put them out there. So it was a company that had a bad PR track record. They put themselves out there to do something similar to me, but they were going to disrupt the bodega. The bodega is a staple in Latin American, culture. So that was already politically and publicly offensive to all of the press and everything that they put out. So they struggled for years. They weren't making money, of course. 2 ex-Google people had this idea and kind of ran with it, but they were trying to make something a little more too techy, but still with the same kind of ideology that I was, using the kiosk, adding some more updated stuff, but they were kind of trying to use machine learning, all that stuff. It really didn't work. So the PR storm was really, really bad, and I don't think they could stomach it. They weren't able to spin to get out of it. It was just a bad stain. So reached out to this Forerunner Ventures, and the guy immediately responded. He was like, there's a conflict of interest. I'm like, okay, fair enough. On and on to the next one. The ideology is just like, it's a numbers game. You got to keep knocking doors till you get that yes. So this company raised $45 million and rebranded as Stockwell with some basic information off my website, just about being the, hybrid between traditional and online shopping. I mean, verbatim
basically
stuff.
Taking your whole fucking spiel.
Yeah, but raised $45 million off of it outside of what they already raised. So that's what I'm saying. This person that I reached out to saw, I got a domain, all my name, my information, was like, damn, this is what they need to help them off. But what was happening is that I was already doing what they was trying to do.
They were analytical, but they couldn't present the actual product the way you was doing it.
Google people, they know what they know. It's not offensive, but unless you just really out here, it's a different ball game on relating and not just trying to have this disrupt mentality that typically comes out of, Silicon Valley in Northern California. So yeah, they were able to rebrand, raise $45 million and get private equity bought out for stuff that just was off my website. So yeah, that's a real story, and that happens.
That shit crazy.
Yeah. So, of all the mentality of our people, we want to get fundraising. We see Shark Tanks. We see the headlines of people getting investment. It's possible, but it's risky. You have to know the right timing to go and approach people. got to do your research and seeing if there is any potential conflict of interest, and don't just be desperate. I feel like some people just still would be like, man, I'm gonna reach out anyway because I need the money, or I think they could help me because they've done it before. Don't fall into that. Just, yeah, it's risky. And if you don't have anything particularly to protect you, of course, my intellectual property was protected, but damn, motherfuckers raised $45 million off some shit off my website.
Yeah,
like verbatim.
That's
like,
bullshit right there, dog.
Yeah, so
motherfucker.
That'll make you want to go find somebody for real.
Telling you.
yeah, me and the guy had words, but he didn't really respond. But I just kind of chunked it up. It's just like,
At least it
lesson.
proves that you were on the right path as well.
Yeah, it was also confirming too. It was like, man, I'm just isolated here in Dallas, mid-America, and the shit on my website is worth $45 million. So that was comforting.
Like fuel to keep going for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. That was my next thought, man. Just keep going and shit. I lost 45, shit, it's 100 million coming. So
Facts. I love it. So Max, man, I want to ask you. So you have a traditional background. You said like in banking and things of that nature. What would you suggest to somebody who wants to make a pivot toward tech? Because I mean, you made a full pivot, right? Like you got the software and the hardware behind it.
right.
Like, what would you recommend to somebody who was like, man, I'm in a different field. I think I want to get into tech. What should they start doing?
I would say maybe exploring what comes natural, what you're passionate about, and not just, the financial incentive, the salaries, and maybe the lifestyle is probably alluring of sorts. I would say SaaS, software as a service, hardware, unless you got some kind of background and information and proximity, it's going to be really hard to duplicate, what I've done on that one. I feel like the metaverse and Web3 is a really good opportunity on a basic level for our people just to really get into tech. It also gives us a lot of opportunity to solve some of our immediate problems in our community. Just right off the top of my head, without just giving out too much ideas, I feel like estate planning would really, really benefit from smart contract, blockchain technology, but just on the microcosm of everything, it's like I feel like our people could solve a lot of our problems utilizing blockchain, smart chain technology. That would be a first focal point on where to focus. We've just come past a period where Silicon Valley, venture capitalists, all of that money has really dwindled down. SF is not the same place anymore.
People moving out of drove.
I actually heard a really dope quote, like maybe 2 days ago. They're like, what the pandemic showed is that, you don't need the best people to be in San Francisco anymore.
Right.
Now you can work remotely. That means the best people is all around the world now.
Exactly. It opens up the possibilities. Just to answer again, learn any kind of language or programming that you can find. There's tons of them out there. Find something that you're interested in and passionate about that sticks, and at minimum use it as a skill set to pad your resume and increase your salary, because now you got this kind of skill set. But if it gets more entrepreneurial, you can get more into Web3 and the opportunity that presents itself. The likes of Googles, the Facebooks, they've won this phase of the internet, but the Web3 and the new internet, it's a whole new internet out there.
Race now.
And nobody has the keys or the business model to figure out. It's wide open all over again. I personally wouldn't have thought opportunity would be in front of us, but it is.
Wow, that's real dope. And I'm gonna ask the last question David normally asks.
Man, it's my favorite question, bro.
So, Max, what is a financial literacy principle that you live by that you can share with the audience?
For me, I would say that at this point in my life is that a financial principle, I'm not chasing anything financially. I'm attracting everything. So just a course of maybe finding your purpose and walking in the path that makes sense to you and that makes sense to me. I feel that the things that are necessary, even financially, are coming to me. So a person I would necessarily, with a different mindset, I would have to ask for money. The people that are geared for me are finding me. So it's just a mentality change for me, one part. But then also, too, is that, keep putting the work in. The money is going to come. Don't obsess. stress yourself out about the money. If you got something good, man, put the work in, the money will come. And I live kind of by those two principles in the moment and, the bigger picture for me.
Love it. I love it. Well, Max, man, I appreciate you coming out, joining us on the podcast today, man. For everybody that's listening that wants to tap in, they want to learn more, how can they follow you on social media and learn more about Goodie Box?
Yeah, what if they want to go use it? Let them know where they can find some.
So we got 30 locations in DFW. We're looking to add 2 locations here in Austin within the next quarter. So you can be looking for those updates. We'll have press release, things of that nature coming up really soon. You can find me at CEO_Max on Instagram, at Goodie Box, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the above to get updates about anything we're working on.
It's a bet. Max, I want to say thank you again for coming out, my brother.
Man, for sure.
As David said, this is going to be the first of many. Definitely want to do a deeper dive. There's a few more questions I got, but we're going to hold off up on them.
Now, we'll do the 2.0. It's a lot of stuff coming for us, and I'll be able to talk about some more things that are, in the works that I can really fully share the next time. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come out on today on this abbreviated version of the BWR Podcast.
For sure.
But as always, y'all, we're going to hop into a couple house cleaning items before we get up out of here. Always, thank y'all for listening. Always, man. Y'all leave us that 5-star rating and review. If you've been listening to us for 2 years, man,
I need it. And you ain't leave no damn review?
I need y'all to know something about your damn self.
You a hoe ass nigga.
You really a hoe. I need you to go ahead and leave that review for us.
Man.
Go ahead, help some other people help.
I'm going to call you like you is. You a hoe ass nigga.
But nah, really, we appreciate y'all. We love the support, but continue to help us grow the show. Y'all support us by our book, Manage Money Like the 1%. 6 steps to help you manage your money better. We going into a recession right now, so a lot of us need that right now. So y'all tap in, man, and just know season 4 of the BWR Podcast been going crazy,
steady rolling,
and we got more pressure on the way. So
pressure.
Until next time, y'all. This is Black Wealth Renaissance
signing out. Peace.
Progression, you stop having doubts. And what's the point of having clout if you can't cash it out?